Please come in. Please come in. Well, the main thing we need to look at today is this is your therapy session. It's not mine. I'm just facilitating your ability to talk. It's easy to feel a little down and a little blue around Christmas. So maybe we want to work on that tonight. Yeah. Yes, I think that's a good idea. And as your therapist, I might have to take a few notes because the old memory isn't what it used to be. So, do you mind? Okay. First thing is your name. Okay. And your age. Okay. Thanks for the date of birth too, that helps. And who referred you to me? Okay. 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 Mm-hmm. Sure, I understand all of that. Yeah. Well, I like to get to know my patients a little bit and understand where they're coming from. So if you'd like to start off, what's the main thing you want to get out of your therapy sessions? Even today, what are your goals? What are you planning on accomplishing today? Okay. Listening. Mm-hmm. 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 No. And how long has that relationship been this way for you? Okay. And would you consider medication to help with your condition? That's a very interesting response. There is no right answer. There really isn't. Like, for instance, what's your favorite hobby? Favorite hobby? No? Come on. Watching TV? Video games? Going out with friends? Alright, well, ask me. Okay, for instance, with me, I have a hobby. I like to do videography work in my spare time. Sometimes I'll film a wedding, take photos for friends, to save them some money. And it's kind of fun. And I make silly medical videos. Sometimes I put them on YouTube. For fun. So that's something I do. I have a game, if you'd like to try it. Sure. Just let me reach over here. It's actually underneath where you're sitting. I don't know if you're really in the mood for it. Bowling for Zombies? It's a card game. Well, things like this, you bring them out, you show the person, and they're like, bowling for zombies? Really? Really? And they go, sure. Like, how do you play that? And of course my response is, I don't know. I have no idea how to play. I've never read the instructions. But I thought it was a cool game, so I bought it. Hang on. And then I get the person kind of laughing a little bit, like, what are you up to? And then I said, yeah, and I also collect old quack medicine, like this Eskimo vibrator. And they go, Eskimo vibrator, like, what kind of therapy session is this? And I go, no, don't worry. Just being silly. And the whole idea is to disarm the person, get their mind off things. You see, when you came here, you probably had some preconceived idea of how the therapy session would go and what you would say and my reaction to it. Maybe I'm doing exactly what you imagined I would do. But I suspect I'm kind of throwing you off just a little bit. And the reason for that is you want to shock the system. And you got to kind of read the room. When a person walks in, they may not be in the mood for like a sudden shock, like, ugh, Maybe they need a subtle shock, but whipping out, for lack of a better word, a card game like, bowling for zombies. Do you want to learn how to play it maybe for next time? Okay. Yeah, sure. You can take it home and read up on it. Sounds like fun. But the idea is to shock the mind. Like, it's like when you're walking a dog and the dog won't quit pulling on the leash and it's looking at the neighbors and it's wanting to bark, and it's just it's in its own mind. It's in its own zone. And it's just doing what dogs do. That's all it's doing. It's just doing what dogs do. And you give it a little bump, not a kick, just a little bump on the hind leg. And the dog stops and turns and goes, What are you doing? And in that moment, they forget what they were doing. They're like, What'd you kick me in the butt for? What's going on? What? And if you give them a response, like, hey, let's do this, or let's do that, or, the dog will take the lead. It'll take the command. And part of that idea is to snap your mind into relaxing enough to break that continuous cycle of thought. Is this constructive? What's going on in your mind? Constantly, this loop of thoughts. And it's what brought you here. And we want to break that cycle. We want to break it. And we want to get you, just for a moment, to say what? What? What do you want? What are we doing here? And that's when I can take out my notepad and start asking dumb questions, meaningless questions like, do you have any hobbies? And you tell me, yeah, I do that too. We're writing it down. How many times a day? Okay. You can be a funny guy and give me funny answers. But what we're doing is we're trying to sort out how your mind works and get to the root of what you're harboring. What is it that's holding you back? Do you think you know what's holding you back? Really? You think so? You're alone. Alone at the holidays. Yeah. I can kind of relate to that. I have loved ones I'm not going to get to see for Christmas and New Year's, and I have a birthday coming up, and I'm probably not going to get to see them then either. And my birthday is not something I'm big on, but it comes right after the holiday season. And when I was a child, it used to, not that it used to, it still does, but it snow a lot in December and January. And we would try to have a birthday party, and nobody would come. Nobody goes to a birthday party on the 7th of January. It's cold and miserable. And once in a great while, my parents could put it together, and a few relatives, cousins would come over and visit. We'd shoot some pool or something and play. And it was really a big deal. But normally, the weather's bad. It's very cold out in Ohio. Northern Ohio is very cold. It's like miserable in January, and wet and rainy and ice and snow one day and bitter cold the next, and roads are never good. So there was a lot of birthday parties where nobody came. And I think because it was never a big deal, I never really got to have, it wasn't a big annual thing. It wasn't something I got used to planning and working out, that I just kind of gave up on it. And the older I got, the more set in my ways I got. It feels like an inconvenience in January to ask people to come to your birthday party. This year it's bothering me because I'm not going to see people for Christmas and New Year's, and then I'm going to think, well, this is an opportunity. They could come see me, or I could go see them for my birthday. And I can't because of what's going on in the world. And it's in my mind, it's a time for reflection. It's a time to take stock in the world that we live in. Definitely grateful for everything I have. I don't know about you, but very grateful would be how do you feel about 2020? Very grateful to be alive, very grateful to be sitting right here with you, and I'm not even wearing a mask. We're just able to sit far enough away with a plexiglass shield between us. And still communicate, make eye contact. It's the human connection, isn't it, that matters. So how do you feel about the holidays? I think that's fair. I think it's fair to be that upset about it. And you're a lot younger than me, so you haven't had that many perfect Christmases yet. I've had my fill of attempts at the perfect Christmas. I think we all do sometime in our life. We try to have that storybook ending on Christmas Day, that Red Ryder BB gun moment. I think for me it was the year you buy the kids that fancy game system, that Nintendo, I think it was like Nintendo 64 was a big one when my boys were little. I got him the I don't know what it was, PS1 or something. It was like a handheld game, and they really weren't into it. I busted my ass getting that thing I bought it from Japan, import. You could barely get games for it. It was so new. Kids weren't into it. I don't even know what happened to it. Probably ended up in a drawer somewhere. And they had the Game Boys and, all that stuff. One year, my son wanted Donkey Kong Junior 3 or Donkey Kong Country 3, Donkey Kong Country 2 or 3, I don't know, but it was one of those. And he wanted that. They had a list, and it was number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Donkey Kong 3. Well, guess what? It was for Super Nintendo. I know that. Because it was a little rectangular cartridge. And that was Super Nintendo. And that system, they quit making them. And those games were like the old games. And the N64 were the new ones. And back then, you just couldn't find the old games. And which ones you could find. It really wasn't. There was the internet and GameStop and all that, and you could go on the internet a little bit. But I think this was even before Amazon. Maybe you had your eBay, and I couldn't find it on eBay. It was sold out. Or somebody had it, and I couldn't get it in time. And I called every single game store. There was a couple chains back then, and that was the fun of Christmas back then. You'd call all these different shops and try to find this one game for this boy, this one single toy that the kid had to have. And I finally found it. And it was actually maybe like 35 minutes from my house. And I was amazed they had it. I begged them. To just hold it for me. I'll be right over. I gotta go to work. I can't get there till 8 o'clock at night. And I had to work over that night. And it was a horrible weather. My boss was being a complete dick. And I could not get out of work. And they were open till like 9, and I couldn't get there till like 8:30, and I was just, and I had to take my wife and kids because we had to go do something else. And she's like, we're not going to make it. And it's like they're closed tomorrow, and Christmas is here, and it was like the 23rd, 24th, and we were just desperate. And everything just went tits up that day. And I drove there, and I got there, and I walked in, and I'm like, I told them my name, and I'm looking for this Donkey Kong Country 3, and they said, yeah, we got it right here, it works. Works? Yeah, it works. Does it work? And they had a box for it and everything, and I was like, oh my god. And it was like an old game that was probably worth like $5. Nobody wanted it anymore. But because it was a rare Donkey Kong Country game, and it was hot, and everybody wanted it for some stupid reason, it was like 35 or $50. It might have been 50, $55, $60, I don't remember. I don't tell you something. Every parent can relate to this. I don't care if they would have said $100, I would have thrown it on the table, even if I didn't. And back then I didn't have it. I didn't have that $50, $60 to just throw at the table. But when you want that one present for your kid, you throw the money down. It's almost like if I don't get this, I'm blowing it right here. I am blowing the dice roll if I go cheap. And I don't get this for the kid. And I bought it. And, we wrapped it up. Well, actually, we made sure it worked. That's a big thing with, when you're a parent. Go home, plug it in, the system, make sure it works. Remember that. That's so important. And because you get burned, and then it's Christmas morning, and oh boy, that's worse than not getting it. Because you can just rain check the kid. You can say, hey, I couldn't get it, but here's the money. Put the money in an envelope, and we're going to go get it after Christmas. And then that works. So it's just not as good, but it works. There was presents galore under the tree, because they were little, and that's when you have like the massive amount of presents. And my little guy, it was for my younger son. He was a little guy. Maybe he was 6 years old. He tore everything out of the way. He was literally, the video game was wrapped up in a little present like this size. It was the size of a cartridge box back then. And he tore everything apart, the whole tree, and was just tossing boxes and presents, just digging and digging. And we smartly hid it in the back. We wanted it to be like one of the last ones he opened. And I filmed this too. I have it on film somewhere. And we didn't have money. We didn't have a lot of cash. So we lived in a really cold house. But we had a lot of love and a lot of warmth in there, raising those kids. And I remember he dug that out. And he pulled that box out. And he came running out from around the tree. And he ran right over, and he sat on the floor right in front of us. And he tore open that package, wrapping paper. And he goes, look, Mom, Santa got me, because we did the whole Santa Claus thing. Santa Claus got me Donkey Kong Country 3. And he's like, I'm done. And it was like, I got what I wanted, I'm done. It's like, okay, Well, go find another present with your name on it. No, I got Donkey Kong Country 3. It's like, okay, but you gotta go open the rest of your presents. Oh, so adorable. So adorable. And those are the moments you treasure and you take with you, don't you? I don't get to see the boys as much anymore because they're older and they're starting their own life and everything. I raised them to be real independent, kind of like you. How you're trying to get out there on your own and be independent and be your own man. And sometimes I think the whole world's against them. But then I remember I was there once. And I know what that's like. And things aren't any better or worse now than they were then. For me or for them. It's just the way life is. There's always going to be battles to be won and fights to go through and challenges to conquer. It's never easy. It's always going to be hard. It gets easier when you get older, but then when you get older, you get wiser and smarter, and things do get easier for you in life normally. But you get broken down because you beat yourself to death to get there, and then you start to question everything. Life is a test. I really believe that. It's an endurance test. You gotta dig in your cleats and you gotta scratch out a good starting point, and you gotta run the long haul. You have to be willing to tough it out and not give up on yourself. I could tell you some stories. One year, you'll like this one. We had little red socks that you hang the stockings. We hung them in the hallway, one on each side of the hallway. We just had the two little boys then, and they were little. My youngest son could barely talk. He was still sucking his finger, and the other one was like he could talk when he was born practically. Boy, he was Johnny Quest, man, boy genius. And he kind of did all the talking for the little one. And we bought him little socks, and I made him hang them up with a nail, and they hung them up with a hammer and nail. And I was like, Santa's going to come here. He's going to fill that full of candy. And they're like all excited. You got to go to bed. So they went to bed. And I found these socks. I can't even show you. They were like 3 or 4 foot long socks with they're red Christmas stockings with the white band on top, but they were just massive. And my wife said, "What are you going to put in there?" I said, "We'll put a bag of candy in there, Well, that's just going to go right down the foot of it. You could practically put half or most of their presents in these stockings. There won't be anything under the tree." And we were like, "It's a great idea, we'll switch them out at night." And the kids will be like, "Oh my God, our Christmas stockings are huge. What happened?" And it'll be like a little magic trick. They won't know what happened, how they got so big. But what do you put in them? I didn't think this through. If you could imagine that. So I went to the store. Kmart back then was next town over. And I looked and looked and looked. And I'm thinking, what am I going to put in here? Maybe a big board game or something. And this is back when Power Rangers were like it. This is when my kids were watching Power Rangers every day. They had videos of it. They had, the old VHS tapes of them and everything. And Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles were it. And I come around the corner, and in the bottom of this aisle, they had these huge red and white, funny-looking dolls. I'm like, they were weird looking. They looked like Power Rangers. There was, different colors, but there was this one was white and goldish looking, and then they had like the red one and the blue one and all that, yellow. And I reached out, I pull out this doll by the leg, and it's huge. It's like 3 foot. It's not 3 foot tall, but it's pretty tall. And it's a red Power Ranger. And it's an articulated stuffed toy with wires in it so you can pose it, karate chops and stuff. And it was a Red Ranger, and it was darn near as tall as my kid, because they were little, And I reached down, I'm like, I don't believe this. And I never saw these anywhere. And I pull another one out. It's a White Ranger. And they're, like I said, they were like a stuffed doll with like stuffing real thick. But then they had an articulated wire in them going down the arms, legs, and the body. And the neck even. And you could pose them, like karate kicks and stuff. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. These are huge. And these things are probably going to be like, and I had no money left. And I'm thinking these things are probably going to be like $50 a piece, because anything Power Rangers was like a fortune. And I look, and I think they're like 15 or 20. And then I look, and they had a whole rack of them. At the you would miss them if you weren't really looking for them. The bottom of the rack was just full of these. They must have got like a huge amount of them for some reason. And other stores got like none of them. And just nobody was buying them. And they actually marked them down to like 15 or 12 bucks a piece. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I was thinking I'm going to spend my last dollar here, and for like 25, 30 bucks, I'm out the door. I grabbed those up. I looked them over, made sure they were perfect. Every little stitch was perfect on it. Got the best looking ones that weren't all beat up looking, because it looked like kids were playing with them. And I threw them in the cart, and I swear I went right straight home, and I said, you're never going to believe this. And I show my wife, and she freaks out. She can't believe I found these. So like I said, the kids hung their stockings up, and we throw some toys in these huge socks. We take the little ones down, and we hang up these big ones. They're so big they droop on the ground. And we put these big Power Rangers in just where their heads are sticking out. And I have this on film. Like, I filmed all the Christmases of the kids when they were little. And the boys come out of the bedroom, and they walk over, and my son Max goes, Max and Madison, the oldest is Madison and Max. The oldest is Max. Madison's a little guy, and he's just like, he can't even talk real well yet. He's little, not even maybe 2 years old. Maybe he's younger than that. And they walk out, and they go, oh, look, Madison, our stockings, they growed up. And they pulled that Ranger out. And I have it on camera. My son pulls that Red Ranger out. It's tall as Madison. It's that tall. And he's standing it up like, look at that. It's a Power Ranger. And he's, Max puts it, on the ground standing there. And Madison goes, Kia, and starts karate kicking it. He starts kicking it, karate chopping it. And it was the most adorable thing you've ever seen. Oh my God, it was so cool. It really was. It was amazing. And that's the kind of memories you don't forget. And I need you to know that right now things are a little bit blue and down and rough right now, 2020. But I can tell you, I had a lot of 2020s when we were a young married couple back in the 90s. It was so bad, there was like no work. I just had a baby. Well, my wife just had a baby. And we were praying that President Bush, the first one, would extend unemployment benefits, because I was just flat on my ass, could not get work. And that's how desperate things were for us. And we were both, even back then, I was working side jobs, cash jobs, trying to grab extra money for the family, and it just never seemed to be enough. We had a lot of 2020s back then, and there were some really ugly times. But the thing that got me through it was I learned to start early and work really hard and start buying stuff early and putting it away for the kids. And I always made sure that they had a wonderful Christmas, probably a way out of our means. But they were happy, and they didn't know things were as tight as they were back then. And when they got older, we kept it up as our income increased. Sometimes we would plan a trip. That was a fun one too. I'll tell you about that someday. When we went on a Disney trip for Christmas, I said, look, you're not getting any presents. And they still did. But the boys didn't. They were older then. They were like 18, 19, 20 years old. And I said, you're only getting a few pair of pants, shirts. And they were a little bit, perturbed because they weren't used to not getting anything for Christmas. I said, you're old enough to know I'm taking you to Disney. I'm taking you to Florida. And after Christmas, we're going to go straight to the store and buy you new tennis shoes, new clothes for the trip. Because they got all the sporting goods place right after Christmas, got all the bathing suits and all the summer shorts and everything. And I said, we're going to take you there and buy everything, and we're going to go straight to Florida. So on the way to Florida, I stopped at this store and I bought my kids like brand new shoes and everything. Now we've got 4 or 5 boxes of shoes in the back of the car on the way down. It's like, let's just go. Let's just keep going. It's so funny. My parents had my dogs, took care of them. It's just, those memories are crazy. And that's what I hold on to. And I want you to know you can have that too. You can get all that too. It'll happen for you if you work hard. And it starts every day. And I know it doesn't seem like you're ever going to get anywhere, but you will. You will, and when you do, you're probably going to be like me and be very grateful for everything you have. At least I hope you are. And I hope you feel as blessed as I am. And remember, things don't always turn out the way you hoped and dreamed they would, but keep your eyes open, look around, and maybe you'll find something, some wonderful surprise, like I did finding those silly Power Rangers on a shelf right before Christmas. It's always, you gotta keep looking, and you'll find what you're looking for. I think that's true. Well, I guess our session's over, so we'll do a fist bump. All right. It was really nice meeting you. Hey, you can come back again if you want to see me and we'll do this again. Let me know. We can have another therapy session. Sound good? All right. Well, until then, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye-bye.